First, I'm very, very pleased to say that the Christmas holidays passed, as far as safety and security are concerned, pretty safe, where there were no major mishaps, no incidents other than the ordinary. Unfortunately, there was a fire in which a family lost their home. My sentiments goes out to that family. While we had different activities and different ships in town, everything went smooth. There were no incidents reported by the police, and I'm glad for that, because it shows that we, as far as law and order is concerned, we are back up and running, at least on the right track to do so. Part of the recovery, one of the important things is to get our economy back up. And it was a good feeling to have the ships back in town. On Christmas Day, we had 2 ships in. The Marella Celebration that had 1,300 passengers and 500 crew. And also the Independence of the Seas with 4,300 passengers and 1,300 crew. For Boxing Day, we had 3 ships in. The Grandeur of the Seas with 2,400 passengers and 760 crew. Jewel of the Seas with 2,500 passengers and 840 crew. Azamara Quest with 680 passengers and 400 crew. And I mention this specifically because I know it has been a big concern for everyone, and also the business community and the merchants, that we are safe, and when welcoming our visitors back, that we should be able to provide them with the necessary security. And this Christmas season or holidays, the 2 days that pass, and the long weekend, we proved that we did just that. Today we are expecting also the ship Freedom of the Seas with 3,600 passengers and 1,300 crew. And on All Year's, December the 31st, the Adventure of the Seas with 3,000 passengers and 1,100 crew. Also, part of reviving the economy is we have the situation with the budget, and as was noted and reported in the papers today, with the advice of the CFT. Our Minister of Finance, the Honorable Minister Gibson, is presently in Parliament, giving an update on the financial situation. And it is clear that we will be needing financial injection to be able to survive the budget cycle. In Parliament, we have submitted the amendment to the budget. The first amendment was submitted to Parliament, but was never handled by Parliament, or not as yet handled by Parliament. And in order to have the situation corrected to reflect the real financial situation, new amendment has been submitted, and that is what is going to be discussed in Parliament. In good faith that Parliament would realize the seriousness of this matter and would pass the proposed amendment. The situation with the budget, as will be explained by Minister Gibson, is where for 2017 we see a tremendous shortfall, close to some 153 million guilders. And budgetary assistance was committed by the Netherlands. It is still not yet known if this budgetary assistance would be a grant or a loan, but we expect to get that budgetary assistance. Things does not look much better for 2018, as there too we expect a large shortfall with our budget. I do agree with the CFT that we should not stop doing what we are doing and should continue the process of getting budget discipline and making sure that we have our budgets, etc., submitted in time. I think it would be totally unrealistic, however, to expect that we will be able to submit a balanced budget after the consequences of the hurricane. If we look at 2017, just for an example, we would have on the side of the costs where we would have 510 million, and as income we only projected 360 million because of the effects of the hurricane. So believing that we will be able to submit a balanced budget is not really realistic. The advice of the CFT for our instruction to be issued is basically saying it's a bureaucratic. The law that governs the CFT says that if this and this doesn't happen, then that should take place. I hope, and that is the advice. I do not see this as a hostile act towards St. Martin. I see it as a following to the T the procedures, the bureaucratic process. I hope to contact the State Secretary on this matter. I think it can be resolved without a budget or instruction being issued. What definitely needs to be done is that we continue the budget cycle and making sure that we take this very seriously, because it is not a rosy situation that we have right now. While scanning through the newspaper this morning, I saw something that normally I do not react on a lot of stuff that I see in the newspapers, but let me see if I can find it. But in the editorial of the Herald today, that was the topic, the budget and the advice of the CFT. And there was a part where, and let me read it, in this sense, it's a bit puzzling that the Council of Ministers called its weekly Wednesday press briefing for 10 a.m., the same time the Central Committee meeting is scheduled. And I almost fell off my chair. I'm amazed. Since January, since December, when this government took office, the press briefings have been every Wednesday at 10 a.m., from 10 to 11. The impression when you read that would be that Parliament called a meeting at 10 o'clock and the government ran and decided to call a press briefing for the same time. And this is disappointing because, we tend to point out to government about integrity breaches, et cetera, but also saying things for which we know better and creating the wrong impression out there are also, in my opinion, integrity breaches. And I know the Herald to be an honorable newspaper, but this is very disappointing, and it requires me to clarify the matter. The press briefing of the government has always been, from day one, on Wednesdays from 10 to 11. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, there's an agreement with Parliament that Parliament would, as much as possible, avoid calling their meetings on Wednesday 10 to avoid, as far as the DECOM transmissions are concerned.